All right, we're recording. Hi there. Okay, we have just a short session and it's a lot of data, so I'm going to get moving. Welcome to Harnessing the Power of View Modes. Woo! My name's Amy Degnan. I'm CEO and co-founder of Hook 42, but I've done a lot of big enterprise tech and CMS for a long time. And I have a lot of project management and a lot of business analyst background with a bunch of certifications. But the important thing is all about talking about view modes here. Hook 42 is a full-service digital agency. We're a certified women's business enterprise, and we do big things. But talk to me at the table if you find this interesting, because I really want to talk about view modes. Who are you? Who's a developer in the house? Okay, about over half. How about project managers? Oh, yeah, maybe like less than a fourth. Who's site builders? Oh, okay. It's like a mix. Probably developers do site building. Who's a themer? Okay, less. Who does everything? Oh my gosh, yes. Actually, about like 33%. This talk is focused around site builders, but everybody can benefit from it. There's a lot to cover. We're going to go fast. Enjoy the ride. The slides are posted. Stay engaged. Because it's after lunch. Woo! Okay, and what we're going to do today is we're going to cover a lot of things, and we're going to cover it in 3 topics. We're going to talk about an example site. We're going to apply some strategy, and then we're going to apply some skills. I want to just set up at the very beginning, I am not opening a live site with these. Like, everything has been screenshot just for speed. So first of all, when I did this session, I was like, what does a harness mean? And it's basically a set of straps and fittings you put on an animal, but really I wanted to feel like we can control and make use of natural resources, especially to produce energy. So I wanted to harness the power of view modes because Drupal core has this wonderful power of display configuration called view modes. So who has used view modes in this room? Okay, that's funny because we have just about like maybe a third raised their hand. Who knows if they've used, do you know if you use view modes? Like maybe, yeah, okay. That's why we did this session. Who has imposter syndrome with it? You're like, I kind of know what a view mode is, but I don't really know. Okay, there's a few people. All right, let's get over that together. So the rough, like casual definition of view modes is all the stuff on the Manage Display tab. So who's seen the Manage Display tab in Drupal? Okay, all the hands raise your hand. So okay, great. So it's this tab in Drupal. This is Drupal 8 screenshot, but there's a Manage Display in Drupal 7 as well. Okay, so if you've ever touched this Manage Display tab, you have been working with view modes. And you can see on this screen that there's a full content search index, teaser, and default view mode. A real definition of view modes is a view display that is the rendered output of an entity following the configuration rules defined in a view mode. Well, that's awesome for a definition because it's really clear, but what it means is that you have 3 things that drive your Drupal UI, right? You have this view display, which is your CSS and that type of thing, married with your content. And then how do you know what it's supposed to do? That's where the config comes in. So the view display is different than the view mode. View mode is configuration. View display is what you see. So it's all about naming. Naming is very important in this topic. Are view modes new? No. In Drupal 6, Contrib provided the build mode module as an extension of the CCK suite. In Drupal 7, core has view modes. And I mean, you see teasers and full content in Drupal 7 if you're used to it, but it really lacked the UI tool to extend and to work with view modes very easily. You could absolutely develop with them easily, but you had to install things like Display Suite to surface a UI to interact with view modes, to list them, to create new ones, and to extend them. But Drupal 8 is great. Everything entity So Drupal 8, who's familiar with Drupal 8 in the room? Oh, good. Actually, like about 75% raised their hand. Okay, so everything entity in Drupal 8 means everything has a view mode, which is fantastic. And it also, the view mode comes with basic UI tools. You can create your own view modes for your content without even having to add another module, like from Contrib. But, shameless plug for Display Suite, Contrib adds entity support, richer entity support, and richer UI tools. So we'll get into that a little bit later. All right. My machine is, there it goes. Okay. View modes are super useful. You can configure layouts with no code. Who's a site builder here again? And who's a PM that actually has to do some site building things sometimes because it got slipped through? Yeah, there's some hands raised. It's really an empowering tool for those that are site builders. You also can provide multiple layouts for the same content, right? So you can look at your content in lots of different ways, which means your content strategy comes to play, and it comes to play within your design configuration. But what's really, really cool about Drupal 8 view modes, it adds a layer of tools for like extended content display and engagement. Who's seen that quick edit stuff for Drupal 8, where you're like in the page and you can click it and you edit? Well, that's because that information, they wrap that around the view mode. Now, if you were to make like an administrative page to like quickly update maybe some taxonomy values for a lot of content, and you stuck that in a view, if you rendered the output as a view mode, you'll get that quick edit. So it's really super awesome. You can also pass programmatically different query strings to switch the display of view modes if you need to for different like A/B testing and that type of thing. And you also, this is where you have like extended field formatters and everything like that. So they're super useful. So first of all, like when we talked about like a sample site, so I was like, hey, what site is everybody really familiar with? And you know, let's go climbing, let's buy a harness. Everybody's heard of Amazon, I would think. So I needed a climbing harness, and I also need to see what climbing is really like. So let's shop on Amazon. So I searched for harness, and I got a lot of things that I didn't want, like pet harnesses and other types of harnesses that are inappropriate. So, and also electrical harnesses, because I can put that harness in the car. Why not? So specificity in how you call things matters with what the output that you want, right? You have to tell the system what you would like it to get. So if we're on the Amazon, I get a listing view here. Does that kind of look like a Drupal teaser out of the box? Everybody nods, yeah? Okay, great. How about this little sidebar thing? That kind of looks like a card, right? That's like a design term to have like grid-like layout. That's a card. But if you look here, I can switch from like list mode to grid mode, and we have a different layout of the card here, right? So this product card has more detail than the sidebar, but they're both kind of cards here, right? So do you see how they're similar, but they're kind of different? But they also look at products. Wow, that's challenging. How do we name those things? Uh-oh. Also, this would be something like full content, right? This is where the bulk of your content would be shown. You don't need to show all content on full content. Let's just say that out loud. You don't need to show every field on full content. And then you can see there's some extended information here on full content. So imagery, media assets. And then if you're scrolling down the full content of the page, wow, there's a lot of stuff that Amazon has on this product page. There's like more tech details and more product descriptions, that type of thing. And then you have recommendations at the bottom. Wow, look at, there is another product card, right? But there's no data with it, it's just a picture. Oh, and this is another product card. That's a different layout because that's the recommended products. Wow, there's a lot of layouts for this like similar type of product, right? What's also, if you keep cruising down the page, they have this upsell banner here. that it has product information that it's sucking in with like the picture and some keywords that go along with it. So this is a banner type of layout. It's a call to action. And I'm cruising down the bottom, and all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I viewed a bunch of Disney movies to download because this was for DrupalCon, and I was downloading movies for my baby to watch on the plane. But look at that tiny little product layout of that movie. That's a tiny little card. Look at all these ways to look at data. And then part of my little exercise here is to not just buy the harness, but to figure out like what is climbing really like. And I just connected to that movie where the guy this is really gruesome. I'm not going to go into details about it, but Amazon was really nice. I put 172 hours, but it popped up the right product. Thank you, Amazon. But you can see here that there's two different types of digital product or video product here. And they have different layouts. But it looks like a teaser, huh? Right? So let's keep going. And this is a full content look, but it looks different because it's a video product, right? And actually, this is Amazon Prime video product, so this is a true digital download. So we're kind of really coming together that there are things that look like full content, things that look like teasers, but they look a little bit different based on what their content actually is. And here you can see another layout of video content. Okay, so are we all on the same page? We know what Amazon looks like. Here we go. So who remembers biology class from high school and college? Have you guys seen this taxonomic rate? It's all about naming things from a broad kind of descriptor down to a very specific descriptor, down to the most unique descriptor. Okay, we're going to apply the taxonomic range to view modes. And just to give you guys a quick update, this is what it looks like for human beings and a cute flower. So we're going to apply this to Drupal's taxonomic rate for displays. So welcome. At the highest, most broad level, like we talked about earlier, we have this thing called display modes. And the kingdom, there's not only view modes, but you can actually use the same concept to lay out forms. So you can have like a user registration form in like 3 different formats because you want to have them in different parts of your site. Also in Drupal 7, you have the ability to extend file formats with file view modes. So the differentiator is segmented per entity type. When I talk about entity type, we get down to, it's content entity or form entity earlier. So the families of content entities in Drupal 8 are content types, blocks, taxonomy terms, and comments. And each one of these have their own set of view modes. So if I made a teaser in content type, I could not use that same teaser in a block because its family, it's attached to the content type itself. So block view modes are different than content type view modes. Okay, so this is getting interesting. Now it's coming to like, what do you see on the Manage Display tab, right? So we've all seen the word teaser, right? And full content. And who uses the term banner? Does anybody? Yeah, a few people. Who uses the term card? Yeah, okay, just a few more. And how about admin? Does anybody use admin view modes? Yeah, lots of nods. So lots of them over here. And the differentiator here is display characteristics. And we just saw Amazon, and we saw all these different layouts of product data. And the differentiators there are the display characteristics. So let's actually further define what these are, because this is the hardest thing on any project. And I'm going to give you a nice baseline that we've standardized in the company. And we've also standardized it because it's the industry standardizing it with these terms. This is also tied into things like uses of paragraphs and component-based design and that type of thing. So, full content displays the most content of a single entity, and it's commonly the URL for the content, often confused with default, or used as default. Teasers display content in a listing format, so one item per row. Cards display content in a grid format, even if it's a grid of one on a sidebar. Banners display content in banded layouts and commonly for call to actions. All right. And admin variants display content used by internal teams to manage content. So I'm going to keep going through this. I would like to have us all grasp this wonderful freedom of now having a definition to further describe the display characteristics for your view mode. Because so many people call these things and there's no definition. So like what I call a teaser and what you call a teaser might be two different things. So this we're calling a teaser. This is a card. This is a banner. This is an example of full content. Does that sound good, everybody? Okay, great. Head nodding. All right, so what if we have like multiple types of teasers, right? I go back and forth with naming and sometimes I cringe, but short teaser actually tends to work pretty frequently. And it's like, well, what do you mean short? But if you have teaser and you define teaser as commonly like a summary view used on full lists, and that's great. If you have the concept of a large teaser, and that could be basically the highlighted row, which is like the top view, and that's a good concept. And the short teaser could be a row that you use in like a sidebar. It's been very hard to name things around this area, and short and large, and small and large actually works pretty well. We sometimes, if it's only links, but they need specific action, we've used link teasers because sometimes we customize URLs with different fields and that type of thing. But the variant is per display class, right? So we can have short or small and large teaser, but we can have a sales banner. We can have something that's called the registration banner. If you had the need to apply it in lots of different ways. So you do not want to display mode per every node or per every content type. It's not necessary because you can reuse the view mode. If I make a short teaser, I can apply that to a product, I can apply that to an article, I can apply that to a lot of different things. All right, so this is kind of an example of what a short teaser is. It's a video with limited amount of information. So when you're naming your view modes, naming is important. Naming is hard. Please use industry standards. Teaser 1 doesn't mean anything. Thank you. Article teaser? Why would you have an article teaser? Why would you have something that's specific? Why can't you just make a teaser and apply it to the article content type? A lot of people will be like, no, I have to make a teaser for the article, so I'm going to make article teaser, view mode. No, you've made a view mode called teaser. Now just configure the article content type to use it. Name them in a broad to narrow fashion, like we're looking at. We're going to look at more narrow in a second. And then you want to really reduce unnecessary view modes to reduce clutter, because the minute you have more and more out there, you're going to be like, I can't tell what's going on. And it's just going to be better for your life. Because you want to maintain balance and you want to prevent this. So basically, here's a little simple naming convention in the form of an equation. And I'm going to carry this through the rest of the slides. Basically, if you do content specificity plus entity specificity plus a view mode family, like teaser, plus the view mode variant, short, large, plus the display context, we'll get there in a second. You can carry this. Oh, and I have slides on this already posted on the session, so everything's already posted there. I see people taking pictures. I'm like, yeah, the PDF's up. You're good. So if we look at our taxonomic range, the product short teaser it commonly becomes the conversational name of a view mode applied to a content type, right? So this, you can make one, but this is what just people call it. Hey, did you update the product full content yet? And the differentiator here is a varied per display class. So it's kind of weird now. This was just more like what you call it over the day, but you might have to have some deep specificity. You can have a product-specific short teaser, So this is where it would be like, oh yeah, if for some reason you had a super specific short teaser because it was 8 variants from something else, you can do the entity specificity plus the view mode family and variant. No, I made the language sound like more like English, so I called it short teaser instead of teaser short, but that's okay. Sometimes it bugs me because it doesn't line up like alphabetically, but it's okay. But here's another example of a product card minimal, or mini, if you wanted to call it. So you have the entity specificity, the view mode family, and the view mode variant. Let's go deeper, right? What we just saw from Amazon is that they laid out their videos much different than like a clothing product. I don't know what a harness was, so I just called it clothing. But this is where you have content specificity, like data about the content itself drives with the content entity and display, right? So this is your video product short teaser. So do you see how it's really clear and you know what it is right when you look at it? So when you configure it and when you develop with it and when you talk about it, you know what you're talking about. It's super important. Let's go further. So this would be like a product card minimal, and I did a video version and a harness, like a clothing version. Now look at this is where this would be either video product card minimal or clothing product card minimal. That's crazy, huh? Why would you want to do that? Sometimes you might have to. These are weird kind of edge use cases. But the one that's going to be like really powerful, especially for those that work with multilingual, is to get down to like the deepest specificity you can get. One of them, which is the language on the site. Okay, so you can have who's actually done like right-left layouts or layouts using German. There's not a lot of people here. Like, who knows what Arnold Schwarzenegger names look like, right? It's like I got 1 million letters. So did you try to put that on a sidebar and see how that wraps? So what happens is sometimes you need to have a view mode variant based on language, because Drupal's cool. Drupal's smart. You can actually have views smart enough to show a specific layout within specific view mode for like based on language. So if you needed to have specific filters for laying out right to left languages or very large languages, it's perfect. So you can get down to that specificity. So this is an example of the Spanish site, full content. And you know what, it doesn't look that much different. I really tried to get a right to left or German version. They just didn't have a Spanish, they only have the Spanish version of Amazon, but if we had to make this very long, we can make it differently. What was it? Yeah, that's weird, because some of it's not.
Title, main thing.
The main thing is not. Yeah, I can't zoom in on it, but it says certificate por ECE. So they didn't translate their stuff all completely, but that's okay, I didn't build the site. I did build it. But here, certificado it is Spanish. I did cut and paste it from the Spanish site. Anyway, but that's conceptually how you can start naming things. And I mean, it's weird, but the most time I work with people with learning view modes is how to name them and then how to apply them to their designs. We just saw the site, we just named things, and we can apply that to the design. So how do you build your Amazon and Drupal is the next step. Let me just check the time. Okay, we're good. Nexustravel.com. So if you guys go to the multilingual demo on Drupal.org, our company built it to help the multilingual initiative show how to use all the cool core functionality. But I'm going to use it as an example because look, there's some product cards. There's some cards there, and I'm going to use it. So basically, our use case is that the content has locations and tours and vendors and members. It has lots of pretty pictures, it has rich content tagging, and it has ads sold to vendors, and it has e-commerce. Look at all these fun things. There's node, user, media entities, taxonomies, blocks, commerce entities. Do you think those have view modes? Yeah, they have view modes. Okay. So at this point, you would take your site and say, okay, how are they laying out the tour? Right? oh, that tour is a card. That's on the home page. But that's like the way the cards look across the site. That's a tour card. That's a view mode called card, right? Then you can take it forward. For those who's familiar with component-based design principles, oh good, lots of you guys are. And that word paragraphs, yeah, that's great. No, it's fantastic. So using the atomic design principles, what you want to do is identify similarities across your UI, and then you want to start naming them and saying, oh, is this a banner? Is this a list? Is this a grid? That type of thing. Also, you want to call out, sometimes your design has different embellishments that don't, land in this banner or list or grid. Like we're working with Stanford, and they have this neat layout and we just called it call out because it's kind of like a banner and it's kind of like a card, but it has a special it calls out special functionality, and it just resonated with their design and their business. So it was a very design-specific way to look at similar content. Then what you want to do is after you make the design, you start making your view modes. Now you guys, I'm going to go through this very quickly. These are all in the PDF on the slides. Basically, you want to start adding a view mode. It's like structure, add display modes, and you want to click add view mode. It's going to ask you which type of content entity you would like to add your view mode to. So you have to go, oh yes, it's not a commerce entity. I'm looking at a regular node, so I'll make a content view mode. And you can call it teaser short or short teaser. And then you click save. But it's not going to show up anywhere. What you have to do is start enabling that on content types to allow that content type to show data in a specific view mode. So what you can do is you can do two different ways. You can structure content types, go to the content type itself, and you can manage display. At the very bottom, you open this field set, and you can say, oh, choose which view modes you want. So it looks kind of like this. So who's edited a content type at the top level? Okay, enough. So it's this page. If you open up custom display settings, the minute you start putting new view modes, they start showing up here. And then you can enable it or disable it as you see fit. Like if you don't want this in your search index, you don't need to put the search index view mode in. Oh, that's the other cool thing about view modes. They can help define search indexes and search displays. Ooh, that's so juicy. It's exciting. But this is where you check it. And what happens is after you check it, it shows up at the top bar. So this is why you do not want to have 4,000 view modes attached to a content type. One of the reasons. Because it gets really, really hard to deal with over time. So you want it nice, you want it tidy, you want it really easy to read and understand. All right, that's checked here. Okay. Let's go ahead and configure the view mode display. So basically what we do is now tell what fields do we want to show up on the view mode and how do we want the fields to be formatted. All right, so this is really cool, and you can see the URL is page, like for the basic page, is page display, and then the view mode machine name. This is where you tune field entity rendering. What the heck does that mean? Okay, so basically, when you relate a taxonomy term, who's tagged content with taxonomy? Lots of people, all right? Who uses entity reference to add an entity reference to a node? Lots of people. Okay, great. So you can actually choose which view mode you want that related content to look at, right? You can choose, it doesn't always have to be teaser. It can be full content. It can be short teaser. It can be whatever you want. But you have to choose rendered entity and then choose the view mode for display. So you have to really click the settings cog to get there. And we didn't configure a view mode for terms. Let's see here. Right here, on this sample, I have a taxonomy that's called interests. And what you can do, this is where normally the entity display is, right? So you're supposed to choose entity display, but a lot of people will just do the label or like a link to the taxonomy page. But this is where you start configuring the entity reference. Who's done this before? Okay, good. And the things that are on the top of the page are like based on the content type you're looking at. What you're referencing is the type of view mode that will come up. That didn't come out very clear, so we'll get there. So here's the view mode. It can be default or taxonomy term page. We haven't really set up a view mode for terms yet, so this is what it looks like by default. But here's your settings cog, and here's your field formatting. Okay, so at this point, you can apply additional theming. And this is where you ask the CSS folks for help. Well, if you aren't that CSS person, or if they've given you some clear ideas. And if you use Display Suite, you have more site builder theming control, which is kind of cool. So basically, I've clicked the little settings cog, and I'm just on any field. I'm on the body field. But what it does is it shows I can do a whole bunch of classes, and I can control label display, and I can do a whole bunch of things. I can have different prefixes and that type of stuff. Whoops, that's a very sensitive tab. Okay. But this is super awesome, and I've chosen the expert field that exposes everything. So you can basically overwrite a bunch of the field output just by site building. At this point, you haven't touched any template code or anything yet. What you can do is also apply view modes to views results. And so how do I make the pretty lists? You can first create a view, and let's just assume that you're choosing a view of content types. You have some filters and sorts and items. And you go to this specific views edit page, right? So we're going to go edit a view, and we're going to find the format section and show settings. And we're going to choose the view mode. Okay, so right now, we've made a view, and now I want the results to use view modes to render the output. So this is the use case here is I would like to have an admin page that I can quickly edit the taxonomy term for something, right? I would like to use the quick edit feature of Drupal 8. I do not want to install something called editable views or anything. I just want to use quick edit feature. So you make a view, and in this format area, you click show content, and you choose the view mode teaser. What's really kind of cool here is, here, this is an example of content and teaser. Oops. How did that move? Okay. I'm missing an image. I'm going to go back. How did that happen? That must, okay. So right here, content comes with core. What you can do is you can switch, please display my view output with Display Suite content. Now that's cool because it adds extra views, it views display handling around view modes. So check this out. We'll skip over to here. We can make an alternating view mode. So if you needed to do, I want every other teaser to be right and left and right and left, you can do it just by choosing different view modes. You can say, please show me the top 3 most recent articles as a different look and feel and have the rest of them do a different view mode, all in site configuration. Isn't that cool? How many people had to ask developers to do that before and go, can you just do this one view and tack on this other view and cobble it together and hope the performance doesn't die and all sorts of things. That's pretty awesome, right? Yes. Yes. That's good. It's good. Passion. And then also what's interesting is what? Oh. Am I okay? Here, I'm I'm doing okay, thanks. I haven't been even here for 24 hours. Okay, so basically what you can do is if you wanted to do a view block display. I just explained this. Okay, if you make the view block display, you want to place it on the desired layout region. Here you go. So basically if you wanted to place that block of a view, you just go to the blocks area, place block, and you can stick that in there. So. At this point, we're going to have a feeling moment. Do you feel like this with view modes? If it's raise your hand. Oh, nobody raised their hand. Do you feel like you can take on view modes with like some more knowledge? Okay, nods. What was it?
Is there in between there?
Yeah, is there in between? Yes, I have one that is kind of in between. I do. It's not in there, but
Just make the face for us.
huh?
Just make the face for us. Okay.
Well, it's funny because my business partner, it's like a merge between both of us, so it's awesome. And the takeaways here is that you can create a rich display experience with site building tools alone. Naming is very important. Please take that with you. And leverage Contrib to expand your site building tools. What I don't have in here is that like the expanse of the Drupal 8 layout system, so many things are changing, and lots of people are using paragraphs, and they're using Bootstrap extended paragraphs, and then all these templates, and do I use Page Manager, do I use panels, or do I use Display Suite, do I use all of them? The view mode itself is really the smallest specificity of display beyond just a field. And all of those layout approaches leverage view modes to actually display what is that content role. What is that content display configuration? So if you're in panels or page manager and you choose which layout as you're configuring your regions, that's absolutely going to ask you what view mode you want to show. So it's all about, it doesn't matter if you're using these layouts. Paragraphs are an entity. Those entities, they need a layout. So if you made a paragraph called call to action, you can have two view modes. A banner call to action, maybe a card call to action. Maybe you have different layouts for those. So everything in Drupal is an entity. Everything has a view mode because it's an entity. Embrace it. Don't abuse it, please. It'll hurt. Okay, questions? There's this doodle is from the more cowbell talk. So anyway, questions we have? Go ahead.
With the views in particular, I remember being told a number of years ago, don't ever show in views, don't ever show the content, the rendered content. Always go with the fields because it loaded the full node objects of everything. And so if you got like a list of 50 titles of things, or whatever, maybe 50 teasers, it's better to say, I want to pull the title and like the teaser bit of the body. But, you know, things have changed, and particularly with Drupal 8, do you know if the query is optimized any better, depending on what you got in your view mode?
Yeah, and repeat the question. Historically, people were told for performance reasons to use fields versus using view modes.
Or at least in views.
In views, sorry, yeah. There's a good case in point to use fields versus view modes. Sometimes when you have like a lot of joins and relationships on your view, if you have advanced sorting that you need, that type of thing. Like view modes on a field, I don't believe render the full entity. Like I think that things have gotten better. But there are things in general for everybody about caching and view modes, right? And there's levels of cache control that you can add. Like the Drupal 8 cache control mechanism, somebody from Pantheon does this wonderful presentation about the depths of Drupal caching and how to affect them. But they're really configurable, and if you're going to have something that's like programmatically very smart to switch the UI based on the cat, and you have to deal with the page cache, you need to set certain cache control layers in parts of your page. So the answer is, well, it depends what you're doing with your view. More than likely, you should be fine. Yeah. Mostly, like if you're doing crazy things about like joins, you might just run into big slope query limits because of the way the query is written by views. Okay. Any other questions? We have JD.
Amy, what are your favorite Contrib modules that deal with extending the capabilities of using view modes?
That's great. I love Display Suite and Display Suite Extras. That really does a lot. I mean, I think just out of the pocket, it's great. We really are using paragraphs a lot because it's they handle things better than fuel collections did, and plus there's a lot of support in paragraphs. So the coupling of paragraphs plus view mode is great to enable the site builder and the content editor to have a lot more strength of making really pretty pages without a lot of development. Or basically you can do the development up front. They have their components thing to run with, so it's pretty nice. We're playing a lot with the bootstrap pattern integration. We always have done our own custom themes because of custom needs for clients, but we're really playing around with there's a big amount of support for bootstrap and the bootstrap patterns. So I was going to see I'm doing an analysis about what does that mean. Do they name things funny? Does it make sense? Are they using fields correctly? And are they leveraging fields? Also, all the layout plugins are fun, but that comes with core now, so I don't know. So many. But Display Suite's the one, yeah. Anything else? Oh yeah, hi.
I'm sorry if you mentioned this earlier, but would this presentation be available through the Drupal GovCon site or?
Yeah, go to the page. It's already up there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And Kevin is really good about getting these videos out pretty quickly. So, any other? Wow, I can't believe that there's this little questions. I answered questions. Okay, go for it.
I mean, just trying to decide about twigging all of your output versus view moding.
Oh, to twig or to view mode. That's fantastic.
Doing it in both places just can be really confusing for maintenance and stuff like that.
I'm going to rephrase that question. So the question is, do you twig or view mode it? So the answer is you view mode it, period. And where do you put the CSS overrides? Is it in the twig file or is it in the view mode file?
Oh, I figured in the page. Just kidding. Sorry.
Oh, no. I, for those that are on the video, I gave her the weirdest look. So I was like, what? Okay, so that's a good question. And it depends what your team looks like, right? If you have people that know how to do CSS and they can put it in the site building part, then put the class in the site building and export it as config. The times that you would need to jump down into the twig extension, and this is hey, we're playing with the Bootstrap pattern library, is because they provide twig overrides that tie to view modes and things. Who's extended a view with templates before? It's about a fourth of people. Basically, if you have a view, you can name in Drupal 7 a tipple flip file in a very specific way to put code in and render the output in a special format. And in Drupal 8, Twig does the same thing with view modes and with views and with all the layers, but you can give it layers of specificity. Hence the domain model, layers of specificity. It all comes down to this, and when do you need to override it? So if you need to override something at a very complex layout level and you create a twig, you can go down to the short teaser for a product because it's a content type and view mode context, right? You can even get even more specificity in there if you just wanted to switch by data on the node. If you wanted to, you can put that in the twig template. So the answer is it depends on your team and depends on your need, but the answer is you're still following the same concepts of when, at what level do you start applying the customizations? Do you apply it to the teaser that applies to everybody, or do you apply it to the teaser that only applies to a specific content type? Does that help?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great, thanks. Yeah. Okay, John.
Just a comment that sometimes if you like working in templates, Display Suite can sometimes add another layer of confusion because it's trying to override the node template already, and then you're trying to take it from there.
Yeah, let me. One caveat for the favorite modules. Yeah, Display Suite does a pretty low-level hijack of which view modes do you want, which layout templates. So you have to start if you're going to do the file overrides, you have to file override the right one, right? Yeah, I've got nods in here that have all felt that pain. Yeah. It's like, and I forget sometimes, right? Because like, oh yeah, like forgot to extend it, you know.
The one thing that I'm struggling with is, why would you like to have something like a movie teaser versus just using teaser? Because when you are having the movie content type, you will just configure the teaser for that, or is it because you are having more than one teaser for it? Is that why?
That's a great question, and I'm going to rephrase it a little bit. So, why would one have a movie content type, like a video versus product teaser?
Yeah.
What happens is you would probably just use the word teaser,
Right.
the view mode teaser, and apply it. I put it in here because the vernacular that the people call it on the project is like, and when you do project management and when you do like a ticket, you're going to say, did you do the product view mode of teaser? And you'll be like, yeah, because it just configuring teaser as the whole teaser doesn't mean anything, because the teaser, it must be applied to a content type. So it's not what you'd name your view mode that, but that's just what like people call it. So it becomes vernacular. What you end up doing is adding like these display contexts, you know, it's all mostly about the display contexts. Like, is it changed by language? And then you can apply teaser Spanish to all the teaser Spanish content types or whatever.
That's great.
All right, we're stopping, but that's okay. Thank you for being here.
You'll find her on Twitter and whatever, like she's around. And you have a table.
I'm at we have a table. It's like, it's right next to exhibit, the A exhibit, or the conference A room.
Who's your company in?
We're Hook 42, and my name is Amy Dedman.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody.